In the spring of 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers sought shelter from a violent storm near the tiny island of Antikythera. When the storm broke, they dove down to explore. They expected to find sponges. Instead, they found a shipwreck. Among the marble statues and ancient coins was a lump of corroded bronze. For months, it sat unnoticed in a museum, until one day it cracked open, revealing something impossible. Gears. Precision-engineered gear trains. This wasn't a statue. This was a machine. A machine that had been resting on the ocean floor for over 2,000 years. It would take a century. And the invention of high-resolution 3D X-ray tomography to finally look inside and understand what this device was. It is the oldest known analog computer in human history. But how did a civilization without electricity, without advanced metallurgy, build a machine capable of calculating the cosmos? To understand the Antikythera mechanism, you have to forget everything you know about ancient history. This device wasn't just a toy, it was a complex mathematical model of the universe, driven by a single input. By turning a small hand crank on the side of the wooden case, the operator engaged the primary drive wheel, a massive 223-tooth gear. This gear represented the passage of time. As this primary wheel turned, it drove a cascading series of at least 37 meticulously cut bronze gears. But these weren't simple gears. The ancient engineers used complex gear trains to multiply and divide motion based on specific prime numbers. They were performing mathematical calculations using solid bronze. The front of the mechanism featured a large dial. The outer ring displayed the 365 days of the Egyptian calendar. But because the ancient Greeks knew about leap years, this ring was removable and could be shifted back one day every 4 years. The inner ring displayed the Greek zodiac. As you turned the crank, a central pointer tracked the exact position of the sun through the zodiac. But that was just the beginning. Calculating the sun is relatively easy. Calculating the moon is incredibly difficult. The moon's orbit isn't a perfect circle, it's an ellipse. Because of this, the moon appears to move faster across the sky when it's closer to Earth and slower when it's further away. Today we call this Kepler's second law of planetary motion, a concept formally discovered in the 17th century. Yet the makers of the Antikythera mechanism built this exact principle into their machine 1,700 years earlier. To simulate this variable speed, they invented something called epicyclic gearing. Gears riding on top of other gears, but they took it a step further. They used a pin and slot mechanism. One gear drove another via a pin inserted into a slot. Because the two gears were mounted on slightly different axes, off-center from one another, the driven gear would speed up and slow down during its rotation. This purely mechanical translation of an elliptical orbit is a stroke of absolute engineering genius. The front dial pointer for the moon didn't just show its phase, it sped up and slowed down, perfectly matching the real moon in the sky. But the front dial wasn't just for the sun and the moon. It also tracked the 5 planets known in antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The ancient Greeks believed the Earth was at the center of the universe. This geocentric view created a massive headache for astronomers. From Earth, planets appear to occasionally stop, move backward in the sky, and then move forward again. This optical illusion is called retrograde motion. To model this retrograde motion without computers, the engineers had to build individual gear systems for each planet. By mounting gears on plates that were themselves rotating, they created mechanisms that would drive the planetary pointers forward, stop them, reverse them, and drive them forward again. They essentially built a mechanical solver for complex harmonic equations. While the front dial showed the present, the back dials predicted the future. The top dial on the back was a massive spiral with 235 individual cells. This represented the metonic cycle, a 19-year period after which the phases of the moon land on the exact same days of the solar year. But the bottom dial was the most terrifying and powerful of all, the Saros dial. It was an eclipse predictor. Eclipses in the ancient world were omens. They could stop wars, overthrow kings, and cause mass panic. The Antikythera Mechanism allowed its user to know exactly when a solar or lunar eclipse would occur, down to the hour, decades in advance. Tiny inscriptions inside the cells of the dial told the user what type of eclipse it would be and what time of day it would strike. And if the user ever forgot how to read these dials, the ancient maker had them covered. The bronze doors of the mechanism were completely covered in tiny, meticulously engraved Greek text. It was a user manual explaining exactly how the cosmos worked and how the machine mirrored it. The Antikythera Mechanism is a machine out of time. Its gearwork is so precise, its mathematics so profound, that it rivals the mechanical clocks made in Europe in the 18th century. It proves that ancient engineering was far more advanced than we ever dared to imagine. But this raises a haunting question. A machine this perfect is not a prototype. It is the result of generations of engineering evolution. So, who built it? Why was it on a Roman cargo ship? And perhaps most importantly, how did humanity lose this incredible technology for over 1,000 years? That is what we will uncover in part 2.